Good morning, Cowboys, Cowgirls, and Outlaws. I hope you guys are enjoying the live stream today. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to go ahead and get started right into it. So, once again, this live stream is going to be me talking about the content creator, Slick Sixguns. So, make sure that you guys stay tuned for this. We got some great stuff. So, let's start with the basics. First, my name is Scott. That's my first name. I'm not going to go any farther than that. If you guys are interested in learning my last name, I'm sure you can find me on social media and all that stuff. So you guys can tune in whenever. I'm just going to let you know that I have my wife, Jennifer, here. She is tuning in to you live as well. And she is going to share a little bit of stuff about herself, but it isn't going to be just yet. We are going to get into that, but I'm going to talk a little bit about me again. So here we go. I'm 34 years old. So for those of you guys who are millennials out there, thank you for being into this type of content, because I know that a lot of the subscribers that end up joining my channel usually end up being people that are kind of in the older range. But if I've looked at my analytics recently, I see that the majority of them have a tendency to be between the years of 25 years of age to 34. So thank you for tuning in, millennials, and I'm right there with you. So if you're interested in stuff like this, continue to stay tuned. I'm looking forward to that. Where I'm from, I'm sure somebody's been wondering where I'm from and all that stuff. And I just want to let you guys know that I am actually from, first, the United States. Second, I am from Tucson, Arizona. Yes, I caught that eye roll. Be sure to give her a like or a thumbs up for that one. Yes, I love to talk about myself, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I'm from Tucson, Arizona. I was raised there, born there. I've been all around the United States. I've even been abroad. I'll talk about that in a little bit, and we can get into a little bit more specifics on that one. But I was born in Tucson, Arizona. I lived there for a number of years, went to elementary school there, and then from there on, I went out to California. I stayed there for a little while and enjoyed that. And then, life took me elsewhere. I ended up traveling and went abroad, and then ended up residing in the great state of Texas. Those of you who are my fellow Texans, make sure that you let me know in the comments section. I would love to get to know you guys. Maybe at some point, one day, someday, we can schedule a meet and greet. I don't know, but I love definitely meeting my viewers. I have met a few of you guys, and even though you guys are local to the area where I live in, I'm not, close to the mind of meeting people outside of my immediate neighbors. I currently I know this is kind of weird. We're going to talk about this because you're probably wondering, oh my gosh, why is this guy going to be wearing a hat? Why is this guy looking all crazy? Looks like a real cowboy, acts like a cowboy, or he has the appearance of being a cowboy. Well, what you see is what you get, folks. Guess what? I do live on a ranch. It is a working ranch. We do stuff out here. It has to do with livestock. I have 32 goats and I have 3 donkeys. So therefore, you could call me a goat boy if you really wanted to. But I do consider myself a cowboy, true cowboy, live the lifestyle. We got a ranch. We have some acreage. We definitely use it to our lifestyle to fit our needs and wants and desires. And we definitely live the country life. So if that's you, let me know in the comments section. Let me know how hard it's been for you, especially this year with things, how they've been going when it comes to the hay and prices going up and gas and all that stuff. I know we're not going to get into politics on this channel, but I just want to let you know, I know that it has affected ranchers and farmers. So we're right there with you. So I do live in Texas. I live in Central Texas specifically. Let's talk a little bit about my family. You have my wife right next to me. We have been married for almost 10 years now, right?
No.
You don't even remember our anniversary?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
We just finished our 9th.
Our 9th year. Okay, so we're going on 10 years. All right. She likes to say that our anniversary was when we got married. I like to say when we started dating. So it's June 2nd, by the way. Okay, but our marriage date is actually August 20. Excuse me. I messed that up. It's December 27th. That was way way off on the months there, so she can slap me all she wants later on. Obviously, we can't do that here on the live stream, so we'll go from there. Anyway, we've been married for almost 10 years, so we'll be celebrating all that stuff. And we're happily married, been enjoying the lifestyle. My wife has been incredibly supportive. As you can see, she's sitting here with me, so she's supportive of my YouTube ventures, and as much as it probably detracts from what she really wants in life, she's willing to support me, and that's why she's here, and she continues to be here. So give her a thank you. She's part of the reason why this channel even exists. All that cool stuff that you guys see me show on the channel wouldn't be possible without her. She gives me the ability to do that. So I thank you, and the audience thanks you. So anyway, we do have 2 children. Those of you who are parents out there, I'm sure you can understand the struggles of living a lifestyle with kids. In fact, you can hear them in the background. They're going crazy. As you can see, they are not really supervised right now, but that's okay. They are pretty responsible at the tender ages of 4 and 2. So we trust them to somewhat take care of each other. But obviously, if they come screaming for somebody, one of us will get up and go take care of it and take over the live stream. Hello, buddy. How are you? My son's waving at me. I have 2 children. One is a son, and I have a daughter as well. So let me know in the comment section, and they're adorable, as she says. They are absolutely lovely. We have enjoyed their company. They've been part of this adventure. Little of what you guys see in the background is what really goes on. My family is a huge part of this channel, even though I am the mainstay, the person that you end up seeing. Part of the reason why I even exist is because of them. So thank them and the kids. Kids are great. Both of them are in school. One's in daycare. One's in preschool right now. They're doing great. Talking bunches.
One of them loves being a cowboy.
One of them absolutely loves being a cowboy, and the other one's working on their way there towards being a cowgirl. So, we like to say that even though we can't get them a pony, they got 3 donkeys. And plenty of goats that we can pretend to be dogs. Anyway, that's besides the point. But they're great kids. I love them. Had kids in the house for the last 4 years, and they're just great to have. So, granted, we have our ups and downs, and as you guys can see with the content we produce, it kind of depends on their schedule sometimes. So you are going to be, hopefully at some point in the future, when they're old enough, they may very well show up on this channel, or they may start their own just because they see their parents do it. Anyway, so if you guys got any questions about that, let me know. I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to introduce my wife here. Even though I have said a few things about her, I'm going to go ahead and kind of let her take control of this live stream for a little bit, explain a little bit. I gave her some talking points. She won't bore you, I promise. She's a very interesting individual. And, she's going to go ahead and talk about herself, talk about whatever she wants. So, baby, take it away.
My alias is Shootin' Bella, and I started back in 2017, 18? Yeah. 2018. I was pregnant with my first when I started shooting together for SAS specifically. In 2019, we started the Fast Draw Club here at home. And what else? And I married you because you were the best person ever. That's why I married you.
See that big smile on my face? She married me because I'm the best person ever.
And I am a nurse.
She's a nurse.
That's what I do in the real world.
Yeah. Pays the bills. Anyway, so yeah, you got the nursing partner, so whenever I get old, at least she'll be old enough to change my diapers.
No, I'll just pay someone to do that.
Nice to know, honey. Nice to know. At least I won't be put in a home. If I can remember it, that is. Anyway. Okay, so let's talk about my career path a little bit. Everyone who usually has a YouTube channel, unless they're like a kid or something, they have some life experience. So let's talk about what I've done over the last several years. You know, talking about college and all that stuff. So I have gone to the University of Arizona. I told you I was raised in Tucson, Arizona. The kids are running in the background. Sorry about that. Anyway, she's going to step away for a little bit and deal with that. That's fine. I went to the University of Arizona. I majored in history. So for those of you guys who have been to college or have some higher level of education, let me know what level of education you've had. I got a bachelor's degree, and then I've got a few other things that are currently going on with that. You know, I spent 4 years at the University of Arizona. I did a lot of extracurriculars, mainly having to do with, you know, I wasn't a football player, even though back in high school and stuff like that, you know, I ended up, you know, doing all the physical sports and stuff. And, you know, I did football back in high school, but when getting to college, we're talking about, you know, a lot of academics and then extracurricular activities. I actually did ROTC. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we're talking about career progression and stuff. You know, but that was my major extracurricular activity, aside from, you know, working the occasional job to just kind of help get myself through school and assist with room and board. You know, that's kind of what I did. You know, my before I went off to college, I lived in California and went to high school there. And, you know, I haven't been back to California, but I still have family out there. And stayed in college for a little while, graduated back in 2011. I was actually a 4.5-year college road guy. So, you know, the typical 4 years didn't really exist for me. I was doing quite a bit of other things that had to deal with the Army. And then my career track, my major track actually took me to do other things, like I accrued certain minors and stuff like that. Like I have a minor in psychology, a major in history, a minor in secondary education, a minor in military science. So, you know, I've got I accrued a lot of credits within that 4.5 years, and every single one of them was meant towards reaching my career goal. So, you know, I had to take my, you know, usual gen eds and all that stuff, but, you know, I went to college to do what I wanted to do, and, you know, I did end up doing it, and I'll talk about that in a second here. Anyway, so that has to deal with college. Let me know if you've gone to college, what you majored in. I'd love to hear about that. Next thing up, I told you I did ROTC, and I ended up graduating college in 2011 and moving into the Army. ROTC, for those of you guys who don't know, is the Reserve Officer Training Corps. However, it is also where a lot of active duty officers come from. Yes, I am an officer. Those of you guys who are in the military, yes, I'm looking at, you know, some of my peeps here in the comment section. Those of you guys who were in the military, I'm not going to hide it. I'm an officer. I'll talk about why I'm still an officer at some point here. But, you know, I'm in the military, have been in the military for the last 10 years. So my career's been going on. I'll talk about that a lot. You know, if you were an officer or you're just in the Army or in the military in general, let me know. Even if you're not from the United States and you serve in the military, you know, let me know about that and how that's been for you. But yeah, I became an infantry officer out of college, commissioned into the infantry, was a second lieutenant, all that stuff. Now I'm a captain. Been doing it the last 10, 11 years. So I'll just have to say it's been quite a trip. I've done a lot of things, to include travel abroad. I have gone overseas a couple times. I've gone to Japan in this recent deployment. You know, an overseas tour, I should say. I don't really count it as. There's a lot of discrepancy when it comes to these deployments. Okay. People think deployments, they usually think combat. I did not go to combat. Combat was timing, so I'm not a combat veteran. I'll just lay it out there, but I have deployed overseas, gone overseas, served overseas, and I've done it twice. I went to Japan the second time, and that was the most recent. I went there as a company commander. I'll talk about my experience with that. So that's quite an interesting story. I also did another tour to Korea. I went to South Korea, so I spent a lot of time in the Orient, if you will. It's a very interesting place to be. Both times I've enjoyed. Yeah, I miss family. Yes, I've had my own struggles with that. However, I will say that it's been worth it. I'm glad that I did it. It opened up a lot of opportunities, a lot of doors for me, and I'm able to share some experiences with that. And it's had its bumps. Don't get me wrong, it's had its bumps. I'm sure everyone in the military can relate, but it has been worth it in the end. So I appreciated it, and I still appreciate it to this day. I've held jobs from platoon leader to executive officer to company commander to working in S shops at the battalion level. I know that I might be speaking Greek to some people, but I can go further into that if you guys have questions on it. Been doing that. I continue to do it. I left active duty back in 2016, so I've been out of active duty for a couple of years. Gone back in one other time with the reserves, but I ended up joining the reserves out of my time in active duty, because those of you who don't know, you don't just get out after your commitment. You actually, when you sign on for a minimum of commitment of 8 years, whether you're enlisted or officer. Officer is a little bit different just because you don't really expire. Your date to your term of service doesn't automatically expire. They just tell you you're eligible to get out at a specific time, but you don't necessarily have a clock that runs out and says you are no longer in the military today, so here's your DD-214, get out the door. With an officer, it's typically you can now leave. Thank you for serving. You can continue to serve, or you can get out. Well, that happened to me. I was able to get out of active duty. I went into the reserves to finish my commitment time of 4 years, and then been doing that ever since. I'm eligible to get out now, but I have stayed in for a little bit. I've got my own reasons for doing that. So, having a family and all that stuff, it's got its perks and benefits. Anyway, I do that. So if you guys have any questions about my military service, let me know. I'd love to talk about it. After I left the active military, I ended up becoming a teacher. So I've had quite the rigmarole of experience here. I actually became a middle school history teacher. So I will tell you that it is quite an interesting, it's an interesting field to go into. And the reason why I chose to go into that is not only because of my time in the military, but when I went to college, I told you I studied history, and I wanted to teach history to younger generations to kind of further the interest that I have in history and hopefully inspire others. Anyway, I applied to be a history teacher at the high school level in my local town and ended up getting a job as a middle school teacher, which I did not expect at all. I was honestly terrified. I thought that middle schoolers were going to rip me apart, man, because I remember being in middle school and things just being vicious left, right, and the other. And, it's all about you, and, you got emotions raging, you got people going into puberty, all that stuff. And I'm sure it's just one of those things that people, don't really think about when they get into that kind of career field. But I know that I was terrified. So I did middle school history teaching for quite a while. Well, I shouldn't say quite a while. I did it for 2 years. But I enjoyed it. It was a good time. And, I ended up teaching 8th graders. For those of you who are teachers, who have been teachers, let me know how your experience is, how it's been. In Texas, I'd say that, I enjoyed it. I'd say it's got its own problems. The education system, just like any other organization, the Army, or, any career field that you choose, it's going to have its negative things and its positive things. I'd have to say that I experienced a lot of positive things. I really legitimately enjoyed being there. I loved the kids. I loved teaching them. And, aside from the fact that there's some few state requirements that you've got to make sure that they learn, it can be limiting, mainly for the sheer fact of time. Because for those of you who are in the United States and maybe even abroad, you know that the school year doesn't go year round. So therefore, you can only teach so much within 186 days. So what are you going to teach the kids, right? Well, you obviously have to teach what the school board says you have to teach, what the state says you have to teach. But then everything else kind of goes to the wayside, because even though you love it and it's important to learn, it's not what they're required to learn. And, we can go debate back and forth why that's a merit and why it's not. But I will get to that. We can do that in the Q&A and all that stuff. After becoming a teacher, yes, I did leave teaching, and I left teaching back in 2018. I ended up becoming a business owner. So as I said, I'm a rancher. I do a lot of stuff that has to deal with goats. I am what you would specifically call a targeted grazer, or prescribed grazing. And I know that this might not be super interesting to my viewers, but for you to get to know me, you have to understand what I do. And this is my day job, is targeted grazing. So what I do with those is I usually, in short, I use animals to control vegetation. I use specifically goats to control vegetation, although I can use sheep. And I got into that, kind of dabbled in it the last couple of years. And this last year, I just recently made it a full-time business. So I got out of teaching in 2018, spent a couple years kind of organizing our business and making sure that we could actually do a full-on business on targeted grazing, and then just kicked it off within this last year. Where did YouTube fall into that? YouTube fell into that in between my time of leaving teaching and going to targeted grazing. So I ended up running that. We got 21 acres out here, and we work with all those goats, and we end up taking them to clients, and they clean up pretty good. I do have another channel that I have that has specific targeted grazing stuff, and if you're interested in stuff like that, you can check it out. It's called Goats on the Go Austin Northwest. Go ahead and look it up. But that's only if you're interested. I don't expect anyone on this channel to be interested in, because you guys came for cowboy stuff. You came for Western stuff. You came for the Western shooting sports, and that's what this is about. So I've been doing that for the better part of the last 4 years, both YouTube and doing targeted grazing, and they're going great. I'll have to say that. And now's a good time to go ahead and mention that after I mention all my major talking points, we are going to have a Q&A. So just because you ask me a question and I'm not answering it on this live stream doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to get to it. I will go through the comment section, and I will pick and choose the questions that I see, and I will bring it up, and I will try to answer it to the best of my ability, because I want you guys to hear what I have to say so that you can actually get all your questions out there, and we can truly make this an engaged live stream. So don't fret. put your questions in the comment section. I will pull them up on screen and try to answer them, and I won't try to keep everyone on here forever, but I will try to answer as many questions as possible, and we will go from there. So Q&A after the main live stream, probably the last 5 minutes of the live stream, and maybe if it goes over, great, but I will go ahead and answer that. All right, let's talk about my passions, because I know everybody out there has passions. So first and foremost, my number one passion is cowboy action shooting. If you have followed my channel for any length of time, you're going to notice that I have a lot of firearms of the Old West, a lot of history videos, a lot of takedown videos, a lot of cleaning videos, and collaborations and all that stuff. Anyway, it all has to center around the Western shooting sports, specifically cowboy action shooting. I got into cowboy action shooting back in 2015 when I got back from my first deployment to South Korea. It's a hobby that I wanted to pursue because I looked it up online. I thought it was something that was really interesting. I started watching YouTube videos on it, and then I got into it. What I noticed was that there weren't a whole lot of people, other than a few, like the people who are the major competitors, and almost founders of the sport, really putting out information. So I wanted to spread the wealth of knowledge, realize that I could actually contribute to that community, and that's why I do what I do here with YouTube. But I try to promote Western shooting sports and SAS. And SAS is the number one shooting sport I love. We can debate all we want about what SAS is and what it isn't and all the stuff that goes with it and that people do and don't like. That may be for another video, but that is a passion of mine. Cowboy action shooting is awesome. I love it. If I could, I would do it every single weekend. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to do that, but I'll just put it out there. It is my number one passion. I also love collecting. If you guys have been following my channel for any length of time, you'll see that I've collected a lot of Western firearms. Some people collect cars, some people collect cards, some people collect Pokemon, stuff like that, fads, and there's all sorts of stuff out there you can collect. I collect firearms. I love firearms, and I know that there's a few people on this channel that definitely have a larger collection than I do. And I think my collection at this point is pretty substantial, but it's only going to get bigger with time, and I've been collecting firearms ever since 2014. So, it's a passion of mine. I love doing it. I love just looking at weapons. I love shooting them. I love learning the intricacies of them. For those of you who don't know, when I was a little kid, I loved Legos and small things, and just in general, like the intricacies of the firearms and the little parts about it. I just love it. I don't know. I don't know. It's just interesting how it all fits and all works together, to make something that has an action to it. And yes, it goes boom. I mean, come on. Who doesn't like something that goes boom, has an immediate action to it? So just letting you guys know. I also love long distance shooting. And I haven't shown that really on this channel, but as much as I am an avid cowboy action shooter, as much as I can be, I'm also an avid long distance shooter. Now, I am not a modern long distance shooter. I do not shoot the modern bolt actions with, the 1,000-yard ranges with scopes and all that stuff. Modern optics. I don't do that. I do Western long distance shooting. For those of you who are familiar with things like the Quigley matches, it's similar to that, but it's attached to the Single Action Shooting Society. I have not gone to a Quigley match. I would love to one of these days, but it is just something that only occurs once a year to my knowledge. Whereas SAS, you have at least the opportunity, depending on the club, to shoot every week, every month. So I shoot long distance with my local SAS club. I use single shot rifles. There are different categories, but for the majority of it, it's single shot rifles, big bore, rifle cartridge, typically the stuff of black powder. I'm not shooting black powder buffalo cartridges yet. I'm going to get into that, but I shoot smokeless just because I don't have time to clean my guns all the time. I try to be period correct, but sometimes for the sake of time, I can't. So long distance shooting, I've been into shooting ever since I was able to actually get a firearm with my dad, and we learned off of a BB gun and all that, and learned the fundamentals of aiming, shooting, acquiring, all that stuff. And it's just something that has been progressively making me a better person, and I'm just plain good at it. I'll be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think I'm a pretty decent shot. There's always someone better, but for where I'm at in my life, I'm pretty good with what I have. So I like long distance shooting, and I'm good at it. I have over the last several years been trying to win these matches that people have the chance to go to every month, whereas I'm doing it 3 or 4 times a year, and I'm getting close to second and first place, and sometimes winning the match. Now, granted, some of these matches are smaller, like they're club level and not national or state matches, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't win a national or state match. In fact, if you guys are actually attending the Texas Cowboy Action State Championship, I will be there. I will be shooting the long distance as well. So you guys can go out there, watch me shoot. I'll shoot with you, and we can definitely put that statement to the test of I think I'm a pretty good shot. Anyway, with that being said, long distance shooting is a passion of mine. Fast draw is also a passion of mine. I do fast draw. I've been so much so that I actually started a club out here at my place. For those of you who are into fast draw and want to get into it and are in Texas, I believe there's only 5 clubs right now that you can join. One of those clubs is my club. It is Hill Country Fast Draw. You can look it up on cfda.com. You guys can go ahead and join, enjoy it, and just come out, test fire your guns, get used to the sport. It's a good time. You don't shoot real bullets. You shoot wax bullets. That's mainly due to safety. So I will say that, that's just something that we definitely fancy. Been doing fast draw ever since I did SAS back in 2015. I had to take a break from it for a while because it was getting hard to travel. So we ended up starting our own club. When I mean travel, I'm talking like traveling 4 hours in one direction for a match. So that got a little old after a while. Decided to start my own club, and basically I just once a month walk out my front door and go shoot. What can I say? It's pretty awesome. Another passion of mine is just being a dad. I love being a father. I know that it can be frustrating sometimes. It's got challenges, but I'll tell you, it is. The kids are laughing in the background or crying. Anyway, they are a lot of fun to be around. As much as sometimes they can be a little trying. There's nothing better than having someone say I love you at the end of the day and you telling them the same. And, it's just something about coming from a little person that's just like you. that definitely makes you want to be a better person just for them. So my passion is being a father. I love it, and I wouldn't imagine myself being otherwise. For my dads out there, you're important. Remember that. You are important to that little kid that you are raising, and whether you think you're making it important or not, when you're making an impact or not, you're making an impact in some way. So just don't forget that. You're extremely important to your child's development. So hang in there. I'm also I have a passion for history. For those of you who are into history, you'll definitely appreciate the fact that I incorporate history into my videos, but I love learning about history. I love reading about history and all that stuff. So I will say that I focus a lot more on, originally I was more into the World War II type of history, but I will say that I am more into Civil War and the Western history. Obviously, for what I do, I kind of transitioned out of World War II more so back when I was in college, and there's a reason for it. I got my own opinions about it. I don't think I don't think we shouldn't learn about World War II. I think it's great. But there's other things to learn about. There's certain portions of our history that get exaggerated so much to the point where it kind of, is all you hear about. And I just don't think we hear enough about the Civil War. I don't think we hear enough about the Western history that this country has. And, even though it's not the only history to learn, just like World War II, I think it's just as important to learn about. So that's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. But I do love history. I love just about any type of history. I read history books all the time. And for those of you who know my videos and watching my videos, you're seeing that I incorporate a lot of historical stuff into it. So if you love history, thank you for tuning in because you're going to be getting a lot of it. So let's talk about my interests. Okay. There's my passions, which I love doing more than anything. And then there's my interests, which I want to dabble in, or if I have time, I'll do them. I'm sure you have interests. Let me know what your interests are in the comments section. We'll go ahead and go there. But I like reading. I told you I read a lot of history books. I also read a lot of other books that have to do with leadership, finance, just just all sorts of stuff that has to do with personal development sometimes. There's a lot of interesting topics out there, and reading is one of the ways that we learn and become better people. I firmly believe that. So I read to be a better person and a more interesting person at that. I like working with my hands. It took me a while to figure that out, actually. You growing up, you kind of have your interests and your passions grow and decline, and you're trying to figure out what you really want to do. And it took me until my 30s to figure out that I absolutely love working with my hands, specifically when we're talking about building things. I would say that it's not something that I would do all the time, but it's something that I love doing when I have the time to do it, specifically because, it keeps me occupied. It gives me something to work towards. It gives me something to end up seeing in completion. I think anybody really likes that. They like to see the end result, like to see their thoughts and beliefs come into fruition. And so that's what working with my hands provides me. And I like doing that. I do it as a business owner as well. So that kind of partially leads into it. Plus the physical benefits are always great. I say that I'm not the healthiest I've ever been, surprisingly. Sometimes I get comments on my channel that, say, oh, you're fat, which I kind of laugh at because I've seen people a lot fatter than me. But I have definitely put on some weight in the last couple of years. But the physical benefits of working with your hands is great because it keeps your body in check. So I think that's one of the reasons why I look the way I do, even though I'm not as healthy as I used to be. But, that's one of the reasons why I have the physique I do. And it's a benefit. I like cinematography. I think that's kind of obvious with what you're seeing. I love cameras. I like taking pictures. I love learning about different angles. I love learning about different visuals and all that stuff. I think it's awesome. And, it's something that if you do YouTube and you don't somewhat like cinematography and you don't like something about editing and video making, you're kind of doing the wrong thing. I like it to the extent that I can produce something. Once again, I'm kind of working with my hands to produce something. And I think that's why I like the cinematography portion of this. So you learn a little bit more about video editing and stuff like that. A lot of behind the scenes stuff that I'm really not talking to you about, which I'm sure my fellow YouTubers on here can talk to and relate to. Is just being on YouTube is a job. A lot of us do it for free, and we do it because we love it. Being paid, if you can, is just kind of one of those things that, oh, great, I get paid, And granted, I am not someone who is the huge YouTuber, been doing this 10 years, and this is my full-time career. We'll talk about that in a minute, but, for the most part, YouTubers like me at this point don't really get paid. So that's just something to let you guys know, just a little behind the scenes. Another thing I'm interested in is personal finance. Let me tell you, I have been interested in personal finance ever since I was 18, mainly for the sheer fact that it is important that you manage your finances. I think that if you don't manage your finances, you are in a world of trouble. It's a little bit about responsibility. I read a lot of books on personal finance. I got my own goals of personal finance. And, if you have some discipline with your finances earlier in life, you open up so many more opportunities in your 30s and your 40s, maybe even your late 20s, that people just dream about. And, that's just having some discipline. I love personal finance. I think it's great. If you guys are ever interested in learning about personal finance, I highly recommend reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Very good book. Definitely causes you to change your mind about how you see people in the world and how money works. Important. Extremely important. Highly recommend you go out and read it. And then obviously, I'm always interested in being a cowboy, ranch life. Once again, goes in with working with my hands and building things, working with animals. I like animals. I don't love them all the time. They're something that kind of is a means to an end. But, they do have benefits. They kind of are just a product of your lifestyle. And so I like the ranch life because it's quiet. You're out in the middle of nowhere. I think people we'll get to that. I think people in general are just a little more friendly. I've lived in the city. I don't come from a ranching background. I don't come from from a land owning background or a farmer background. So, my life before this was very much just city life. Uh, I will say that getting to know people in the city versus in the country is very different. And I think people in the country have a tendency to be a little bit more friendly, just nicer people in general. You got your few that have a tendency to not be, but besides the point, I think it's just great. You get to enjoy just having land and seeing the natural beauty of the place. That's definitely appealing. Feeling like you can do what you want without people breathing down your neck is awesome. So I would say that that's something that you just got to keep in mind. All right, let's go with what I like. Okay, this is stuff that is a little less than my interests, but that's stuff that I still like to do. And it's kind of generic. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I'm sure everybody likes these things. But if you're specific to this channel and want to get to know me, this is what I like, and maybe you and I have something in common. I like video games. I'm not going to hide it from anyone. I love playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Anybody out there play that game? I've mentioned it a few times in my videos, even used it in some titles. But Red Dead Redemption 2 is definitely one of those things that it's something that you grew up with it, especially if you're in the millennial generation. You grew up with it. You grew up with video games in general. And Red Dead Redemption 2 to me is the best game of all time. Not for the sheer fact that it's just Cowboy era and Western era, but it's just a well-made game. If you ever get the chance to play it, go out there and do it. It's a great experience. So I would say Red Dead 2 is great. Do it. I play it whenever I get a free moment. So that's awesome. That is my opinion on it. I like hunting. It's one of those things that I've always had kind of an interest in. Been hunting a couple of times. I don't do it avidly. I wouldn't say that it is something that, if I wanted to do it every single weekend, I would. It's more or less kind of a shared experience that I love doing with other people. So I've done hunting maybe 2 or 3 times. And we're talking, when I say hunting, I'm talking like going out and hunting bigger game than varmints, stuff like that. Deer hunting, hog hunting, things like that. I would do it with other people. And now that I have children, it's something that I would want to share with them. Just recently, I actually took my son hunting, deer hunting, because deer season was recent. And, it was an experience for both of us. I learned a lot about patience, specifically with having a young kid around, because they don't have patience at all. And it wasn't really about hunting and bagging a deer. It was more about just being out there with my kid. And so that's why I like it. I'll probably continue to do it. But yeah, I do some varmint hunting around the place, squirrels, rabbits, all that stuff. It's pretty good. What else? I have a favorite food. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite food is. I'd love to see that. I love sushi. Sushi is the best. I mean, I am a fish meat lover. It's just so good. You can come up with so many different flavors, so many different types of fish out there. Once again, I've gone to the Orient a couple times. There's more to the Orient than sushi. I'm not trying to generalize anyone, but it's just great. The sushi in over there is the best, obviously, because they're closer to the ocean, you know. But anytime I can go to a sushi place, I love it. So I would say that. I love fishing. Haven't done it in a while, but it goes along with the hunting thing. I love to do it with other people. Just recently bought my son a fishing pole and my daughter a fishing pole. So we'll probably go out there and do that stuff. I like cooking as well. I like to experiment with stuff. I love grilling. I love doing cowboy cooking. Can do that in the house even. You don't always have to have a Dutch oven. I'm going to give a shout out to Cowboy Kent Rollins out there. Look him up on YouTube. He has some great recipes. I have used them, and boy, they are specifically good. So now let's get into the other stuff, the movies. What do I like as movies? Well, let's talk about my favorite Western. My favorite Western, I would say, is twofold. I definitely like a series, and I definitely like a movie. I would say, as far as Westerns are concerned, Western series are concerned, I love the Hatfields and McCoys. Even though that takes place in Appalachia, it's not, specifically having to do with westward expansion. However, who wouldn't love the fact that it's at the end of the Civil War, and it has to do with a lot of firearms of the era. Even though, there's political stuff and family feuds and all that are tied into it. Just the cinematography and the firearms of it are great. So I definitely like that. That's my favorite series. As far as movies are concerned, I would definitely say that I really like the movie Hostels, which was actually released a couple years ago. Hostels was very good. I definitely like the actors that they put in there, and the storyline is pretty good. It's kind of sad, but that's Westerns for you sometimes, or any movie for that matter. Travel. I like to travel within reason. If I'm going someplace for a couple of days and I'm not going to be staying there for a super long period of time, that's good. I can do that a couple times a year. But if I'm going there and, living out of a suitcase, I'm not really a fan. I do occasionally like to get out and go places and experience new things. So, something to just consider. If you like travel, let me know. If you've been to all 50 states, let me know. I have not, but I'm sure there's people that have traveled far more than I have. I want to go ahead and take this time to mention that there is a playlist in the description of this video that talks to you about what this channel is about. It has specific videos that I think are critical to this channel, and I will say that if this channel is for you, go watch that playlist, because it will tell you everything about this channel, everything that I'm about to bring you. Aside from that, it's got my trailer in it. But, if you're already here, you subscribe to me for some reason, but make sure that this is the channel for you, okay? Watch that playlist and make a decision. That's all I have to say about that. It's in the description below. Go check it out. Some of the questions you guys might have before I get into the Q&A, we're going up on an hour now, is why did you do YouTube? It's a side hustle. And I also enjoyed teaching. I got out of education. I got out of being a history teacher. So I decided to end up being a YouTuber for two reasons. First, I found out that I could teach a lot more in the videos that I make, and it's not going to be regulated as much. I know that's kind of firearms related when it comes to YouTube, and there's so many nuances and stuff like that. We could go on and on about what's currently going on right now, which I can talk about later. But the fact is on YouTube, I can teach what I want and people can choose to watch it. Whereas if I'm an educator, I have to teach whatever the state tells me to teach, maybe get to other things that, I'm interested in teaching and what I think is really important, maybe. But then on top of that, the kids may or may not be interested in it, and they're forced to listen to me. The great thing about YouTube is that you can choose whether to listen to me or not. And I can teach whatever I want. So if whatever I have on and you like, you can just continue watching. If you don't, click off, and there's no consequence. No harm, no foul. And I don't feel offended or anything that you're not listening, and I don't have to correct you and say, you're not paying attention to me, go sit in the corner. I didn't do that with any of my kids, just letting you know. But that's why I do YouTube. I also do it because not only do I legitimately enjoy it and it can teach what I want, but I do it because there's opportunity. And I would say that that's the greatest part, is the opportunity it gives you. So if you have the time, definitely recommend doing it. I've been doing it for 4 years, all going on 5. So I've been doing this a while. If you go back to a lot of my previous videos, you're going to see that I am not really, my videos are focused, but they're just not good. And only somebody who has been doing this a while can really tell you, yeah, that's not a good video. Aside from the viewer who gives you the comments and the feedback and all that, but being a YouTuber and watching another YouTuber, you can tell if they really did a great job. And everybody goes through that on YouTube, and I am no exception. And I can tell you that my YouTube videos from at the very beginning, if you ever watch them, are just not that good. But they've gotten better over time, and that's why I, love it. What are my goals for the channel? Well, continue giving you guys Western shooting sports content. That's my goal. I want to be the #1 YouTube channel for Western shooting sports. There's other people out there that you could watch, but I'll tell you what. Here's why my channel I think is awesome. I cover just about everything that you need to know to get started in SAS or in the Western shooting sports. I cover the knowledge. I cover the regulations. I cover the firearms, the types, the history, even the clothing, all that stuff. I have a lot of the categories that people want to learn about on this channel. And I think that's why people should watch this channel, is because if you want to get into the Western shooting sports, you want to get somewhere, you want to learn about it, or you just have a general interest, watch my channel. There's other channels out there, don't get me wrong, and they're good channels. They're really good. To name a few, Jedi TV is one of them. I know that there's an OTJ Outlaw is another one. They do a lot on the categories. They do a lot on the shooting stages. They have a lot of shooting footage. Yes, that is true. And they do have some things that explain the history, some things that explain the breakdown. But mine truly goes into that. And that's what I do focus on. So I think that's why my channel is a little bit more on the edge. But it's great. So that's my goal. I want to be the #1 cowboy action Western shooting sports YouTuber on YouTube. That is my goal. Okay. So let's talk about personal goals. All right. First off, I want to turn YouTube from a side hustle into a full-time job. Just going to be honest right there. I want to become the most high-value man that I can be. And I think every person wants to be that. Every man, every woman wants to be the most high value they can, to be an inspiration to others. And I think I started with that with becoming a YouTuber. I've got educational goals that I want to pursue, both personal and professional. Just being a smarter individual is important, and you take it for what you will. I want to produce a business that is a one-stop shop for anybody in the Western shooting sports, and I think that starts with what I'm doing now. So we're going there. Let's go ahead and get into the Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling up some questions as we're going through. If you want to, ask your questions in the comments section, and I'll try and get to it. But I'm going to go back through the questions. I'll bring them up here and all that stuff, and I will try to answer them. If you have more questions, ask them. If you like my content, please consider joining Buy Me a Coffee. Please consider joining Patreon. I got great stuff out there, and ammo ain't cheap. Just saying. Okay. Let's go to the comment section. All right. Jack Dorsey says, wait, what? No horse? No, I do not have a horse. I don't have a horse here. Sorry. I've got, 32 goats, 3 donkeys here. All right. Moving on to the next question. Deja Vu. Hey there, Deja Vu. I'll give you a shout out. By the way, you were mentioned in my last video. So go ahead and take it out. Take a look at it. Thank you for being the sponsor. Do you have a favorite firearm that is not a Cowboy or Wild Bunch firearm? Okay. Do I have a favorite firearm that is not Cowboy or Wild Bunch? Ah, man. That's a toughie. And I would say that I do. I would say that it has to be the M1 Garand. I don't have one. I don't, but I have to say it's the M1 Garand. Goes along with my World War II passion when I was younger. Read all the awesome World War II books that are out there. Definitely fell in love with it on, Band of Brothers. So, and all the World War II movies that came out in the 90s and the early 2000s. So I'd say the M1 Garand. Thank you for asking that question. I hope that helps. Let's go. Let's go to another question here. All right. Deja Vu asking, are you a hunter? Do you like the outdoors? Yes, I do hunt. But as I said earlier, I hunt with people. I don't like doing it by myself. It's more about the experience and just hanging out. Although shooting something that you've been trying to get and want to specifically get is very special in itself and awesome. I'm a hunter specifically because I love hanging out with my son. I don't do it necessarily because I want to have sustenance or it's my passion. It's an interest. Or excuse me, it's something I like. Do you like the outdoors? Yes, I do. When it is not raining and miserable out. I do not like cold weather. And I'm sure a lot of people on here can relate to that. So I would say that, do I like the outdoors? Yes, when it's a nice sunny day and 75 out. I will say that. So, yes. Okay. Moving down. Oh, boy. All right. Deja Vu asking another question. Other than Westerns, what kind of movies do you like? I will say that I kind of like the the movies that have to do with character development. So maybe that's part of the reason why I like Westerns too. But I will say that I like action movies, which is the next close one. So I would say that the series, like I said, Band of Brothers is pretty good. Also, The Pacific, a good series to watch. Excuse me. Saving Private Ryan is a good movie. You know, I like some sports movies because they have some action and character development in there. I'd say End of Watch is another good one, which has to do with the police. Made back in 2011. Excuse me, 2012, I think. And Jake Gyllenhaal is a good actor, in my opinion. So I think that's a good one. Let's see. All right. Deja Vu asking another question. Do you have a favorite cartridge for SAS? I love 45 Colt. Just the reason why I like 45 Colt is because it's a cartridge I started out with. It's a big cartridge. You can do a lot with it. You can do a lot with 38 too. But it's just something about shooting a cartridge that is original to the era, but also is one of the biggest cartridges you can have, aside from things like the 5650 or the 5656. You know, it's just a good cartridge. I like it. It's good all around. It works well in my guns, even though people complain and say that it shouldn't be used in even though it shouldn't be used in the rifles, because that's not how they were back in the day. Granted, you had the 4440, which I do have 4440 as well. You know, so I would say 45 Colt's my favorite. 4440 is definitely a close second, though. Okay, Deja Vu asking another question. Do you reload? I feel that it's hard not to if you shoot SAS. Yes, I do. I shoot quite a number of calibers, to name a few: 38, 45, 4440, 4570. It's expensive. I don't know how more plain to put it. Ammo is expensive, and if you buy it outright, it's great for the occasional purchase, but I got into reloading because I also wanted to shoot black powder too, even though you can go out there and purchase black powder cartridges. Oh, also, I like coffee. Shout out to all my coffee drinkers. So yes, I do reload. Short answer. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I will see you in future videos. Thank you.